It is Friday, January 26, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. And boy, doesn't somebody look extra tan.
I got some sun. These last few days, man. I definitely did. Had a great time. I was always sad to miss a show, but thank you to Jolly for stepping in and doing a fabulous job like he always does. So I appreciate it, but had a great time, man. 100%.
So hold on. Let me just get this straight. You missed baseball today, but you didn't miss talking baseball. So I just want to make sure I got that right?
That is true. That is true. It's just a little bit easier
Front
to
runner.
get away from this one.
You are a
than
front
the other
runner.
one.
You are a front runner. Okay. I'll just hang out with the number one podcast in baseball for a little while longer. You know.
I'll tell you what. You didn't want me on the show on Tuesday, the way I was feeling that morning, okay? It was a smart decision by us.
Well, how about Monday when we actually did the show? But that's fine. That's fine, too. All right, so let's get to it. Truth be told, we are taping this Thursday night because Plouffe's on his way to Minneapolis. Might even be there as everybody is digesting this because you got Twins Fest, and we'll talk about one of your favorite Twins coming up in just a bit. So on Thursday night, as we got ready to record, boy, oh boy, the two World Series participants got a little busy. The world champion Texas Rangers have tried to solidify their bullpen a little bit more, signing free agent Dave Robertson to a deal. ESPN's Joc Pederson reports it's a 1 year between 11 and 12 mil. In the meantime, the NL champion Arizona Diamondbacks were busy casting a net over Joc Pederson. He gets a 1 year deal with an option for 2025. Which of those two moves was more interesting to you?
I'm going to go with David Robertson. I kind of love that these guys have kind of become this, like mercenary type players. We talked about that with Joc, but really with Robertson, it's happened as well. I always say whoever gets this guy for the 1 year, $11 million is getting a discount. Like this is a very, very good pitcher. And I'm going to keep saying that until he lets me down. He had another good year last year. I know he had a struggling, I believe it was August. But other than that, pitched really well. So, for Texas, who, they're looking for people to shore up the bullpen. Leclerc got hot there at the end of last year, but going into the postseason and all throughout the year, the bullpen was the big problem there in Texas. So, they're trying to make moves. I know they were in on Hader. That didn't happen for them. But to me, if I'm a general manager, I'm signing David Robertson to a 1 year, $11 million deal every single time I can do it. So I think they're going to get whatever they need to get out of him. If he needs to close some games, he could do that. If he needs to come in and put out some fires early in the game, he can do that. I also think he's one of the guys, Chris, that I would put in front of the data or in front of the cameras and get all the data because he has some absolutely nasty pitches. And if you can kind of find out why or how he does those, I think he's just another one of those guys that's sort of like a coach, too, in a way. He's been around for so long. Great in the clubhouse. So I love that for the Rangers.
Going to be 39 years old at the beginning of next season, which is crazy. Yeah, I mean,
still roped up.
He can do it. There's no question. And he's been kind of a hired gun the last 2 years. He thought he was going to pitch maybe in the playoffs with the New York Mets when he signed there a season ago. Ended up pitching in the postseason with the Miami Marlins. As you mentioned, struggled in the closer's role down there in August, rebounded when they moved him out of the ninth inning role in September. Year before, he was pitching for the Phillies in the World Series. So, yeah, he's a great guy to add. And it is so weird to see essentially a designated hitter become a hired gun the way that Joc Pederson has because he's still not that old. Like, he's not 37 or 38, but it feels like for whatever reason, all he gets is just these 1 year deals. Sometimes he'll get traded. I think he's going to play a huge role in Arizona, in part because he mashes against right-handed pitching. He really does. 14 of his 15 homers came from that side. His OPS against lefties was, don't look at it, it's barely over 600. Against righties, it's much, much better. And what do the Dodgers have an abundance of, Plouffe?
Righties.
What do the San Francisco Giants have an abundance of?
Righties.
San Diego Padres, we're still trying to figure out who their rotation is going to be at this point. But there's a lot of righties there as well. So, smart move. Good job by the Diamondbacks. I like what they've done, actually, in this offseason. So there you go.
Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that Joc just got a Cybertruck and maybe the guys down in Arizona just wanted to take a look at it? You don't see him too often yet.
No. I don't even know what one would look like. if it pulled up into my driveway.
You would know right away because it looks like something from not on this planet. But
Right.
what you were talking about, Joc, though, going back to baseball, not just his car collection, when you become a hitter like that, where your splits are just so egregious, that's kind of how you become that higher,
Yes.
weapon.
Mhm.
A team needs a guy that can hit righties. Hey, Joc Pederson's out there.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Good for him and good for Arizona. And great for our brand new Hall of Fame class. They came together as a class up in Cooperstown for the first time on Thursday. Adrian Beltre, what was he? 19 or 21 votes shy of unanimous, whatever it was. He's still mid 90s percentile. Todd Helton finally got in, so that's why I'm donning the Rockies' old spring training cap. Congratulations to him. And then somebody's former teammate, Joe Mauer, is now there as well. They were up there sharing stories on the dais on Thursday up in Cooperstown, and Joe Mauer maybe gave us the best anecdote of the day.
For me, when I knew I had a chance to be able to play in the big leagues and have a good chance of staying there was actually in spring training. And I remember facing Roy Halladay. And it was, to me, it was the World Series. To him, it was probably just getting some work in before the season. But I remember going 2 for 2, and I get on second base, and a future teammate of mine, Orlando Hudson, said, "You're not supposed to do that." And at that moment, I felt, I can belong here, and if I keep working hard and doing the right things, I think I can stay. So that was the aha moment for me.
Yeah, he stayed and then some, becoming the first American League catcher to ever win a batting title, and then he tacked on 2 more after that. Let's just start with this. What the hell is it like to have a teammate as a Hall of Famer?
It's wild, but like when I was playing with him, you just knew that's the kind of player he was. So I had so much time thinking about it. Now seeing him there obviously gives me, just so, I've admired that guy for a long time, Chris. Everything about him, man. Like I was very blessed in Minnesota to have some good mentors, and Joe was obviously one of them. And he's everything I ever wanted to be. A great baseball player, a great father, a great husband. I wanted to be those things as I saw him do it, and he did it with such ease, man. I'm just proud. I'm proud to be his friend. I got to text him and just tell him, how much I appreciated his role in my career. I owe everything to baseball, and that guy helped me achieve, being a big leaguer. So it's cool. I hope I get to see him this weekend. I don't know if he's going to be at Twins Fest, if he's got like Hall of Fame duties or something. I don't know what's going on there. So, a lot of feelings, man. And I've been talking to some of my other teammates about it too, just how cool it is.
Right.
It also means I'm getting a little old too.
No,
So there's that.
no,
There's
no,
that
you're not,
aspect of
though.
it.
I think
I love Joe Mauer. People, this guy
he's
is
great.
the best.
He is. He's awesome. Go if you haven't had a chance to watch it. MLB Network did a remarkable, 3.5-minute piece that Justin Morneau
Yes.
voiced on Joe Mauer. Watch it. I played it in front of Michelle. I was watching it in the car yesterday. She'd picked me up from somewhere, and so she heard it, and she was like, "That was beautiful." She doesn't know a thing about Joe Mauer. She was like, "That was really touching." So go do yourselves a favor. Adrian Beltre, I kind of feel like he's been shortchanged a little bit in this whole discussion because everybody, including yours truly, when I did that Hall of Fame show with the 3 voters, kind of just rubber stamped him in. We were like, yeah, he's great. We'll see him in there. It'll just be a question of how close to 100% does he get. It's unfair. And you certainly, I've seen what you said on Talking Baseball, so no reason to bring it back up. But there's one guy, as Jason Stark of The Athletic pointed out, one guy walking the planet who is a third baseman that's got more than 3,100 hits and at least 5 Gold Gloves. And it's him. It is him. I admire him in part because I thought he was a better player in his 30s than he was in his 20s. And I think that's the biggest reason why he's in Cooperstown, because he was able to continue and, in fact, add on in some areas of his game. Awesome. Really, really cool. I'm happy for him.
Beltre to me was the guy when I looked around the league, how I wanted to model my third base game after. You look at Adrian Beltre. He's so consistent. Will he make the great plays? Yes, but nothing was getting by him. He was making good throws, and he had all the tools and all of that. And again, I don't know Helton like I know Beltre and Mauer, so I can't really speak on that behalf. But Beltre also is just a phenomenal person. And you always hear that. It's funny, I keep saying it because you always hear that when you're a player, like, man, no one gives a shit about your stats. You're going to be remembered by, how good of a teammate you were and how you treated people. And you're like, okay, but like I gotta like be good too. Like that's kind of like the main thing here, or else I'm not gonna be here. But it's true, man. Like I only think about how those guys treated me, how they treated their other teammates. So they have all these accolades on the field, and they were still able to be those good types of people too. And I think that's very hard because both those guys worked extremely hard at their craft, and they still just treated everybody with so much respect. So when I think about those two guys in particular, that's what I think about first before all the accolades on the field. It's telling, man.
Good for Todd Helton. He is the first true blood Colorado Rocky. Yes, Larry Walker got in a few years ago, but he obviously played elsewhere and excelled elsewhere as well. Todd Helton spent his entire career out there, and so we wondered who was going to be the guy to push through the Coors Field, whatever you want to call it, albatross that hangs around his neck. Yes, were his home road splits significantly different? Yeah, it was almost 200 points when it came to OPS. But his road OPS was still better than Dave Winfield, George Brett, Tony Gwynn. What do those three guys have in common, Plouffe?
Hall of Famers.
They're all Hall of Famers.
Yes.
Todd Helton was a damn good baseball player, and now he's a Hall of Fame baseball player. And I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for the Colorado Rockies fans who haven't had a lot to cheer about lately. Because I feel like your ownership has let you down at times. Cheer this one up and go support them in Cooperstown. Are you going to be able to go?
It depends if I have to work, because I know Morneau will want to go.
Oh, bro. What do you mean? You mean on the Twins stuff?
I call a game, yeah.
Oh, come on, man. No, let's go.
Well, someone's gonna have to do it, and Morneau's definitely going. He's the number one guy, and then
Yeah.
I'd be, I'm one of the on the lower rung there. So we'll see.
Oh,
I'd love to. I would love to, man.
We should take the show to Cooperstown. I've never been. Not for the induction.
It's not a bad idea, C. Rosie. I do want to talk about Helton a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I got to see him later in his career, and still a very, very good hitter at that time. But I just went back and looked at some of these statistics, some of these years, like that 5-year run he had. It's insane, dude.
Yeah.
One dotting it year after year after year. Yeah. 1 year having a 469 on base percentage. Like, think about that. You're getting on base every other time. That's crazy, dude. So, when I like, doing stuff like this where, we get to go and just look back at some the statistical pages of some of these guys, man, because kind of forget how freaking good
a
guy like Todd Helton was. But obviously, not anymore.
Next year is going to be a real interesting ballot. You've got CC and Ichiro that are the newcomers that highlight a pretty solid group. I don't think there's a ton of guys that'll make it early on in their 10-year run toward the Hall of Fame, but a bunch of real interesting guys. And then Billy Wagner is going to be the key holdover. Missed by 27 votes in 2023 and then 5 this year. So that's going to be a tough year for him, but he's got great perspective on it. I've heard about him from him. Rhys Hoskins has a new home as we continue on with guys changing places. Hoskins, a lifelong Philly, will now be a Milwaukee Brewer for the next couple of years and $34 million. He does have an opt-out after the first year. Let's remember, Milwaukee Brewers are defending champions of this division. Are they still the team to beat?
I've already said this. I've already put my stamp on who I think the best team is in that division. I think it's the Cardinals for me right now. And I know you don't necessarily like when I do this, but I'm going to bring up the odds, the Vegas odds for the National League Central right now. Chicago Cubs are the best odds at plus 175. Then it's the Cardinals. Then it's the Reds. And then it's the Brewers. Now, I don't disrespect them that much, C. Rose. I don't think they're the fourth best team in that division. And I do love this Rhys Hoskins signing because we've asked the Brewers to do something like this for many years now, probably like 3 or 4 years in a row. Like, we need a real deal middle of the order bat in that lineup to protect Yelich and just, overall, give the offense a boost. This is what Rhys Hoskins does, and a phenomenal person as well. I keep talking about how good these guys are, but this guy's another one. It's true. But I like that. I just talked to Yelly. I was in the cage with him, less than a week ago, and I was like, man, like, I'd really love someone to come in there and protect you. And we didn't really even talk about Rhys. I didn't really know that was kind of an option, or if they were looking, because they just hadn't done it in the years past. But now I believe it's a 2-year deal, but it has an option after this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great signing for him. And a great signing for them as well.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I think the Cardinals are the team to beat right now.
Okay, that's fine. I think it's a wonderful signing for Milwaukee. I really do. The guy in his career has had only one season where his OPS has been under 823. So he's going to mash. He's going to hit you between 25 and 33 homers, depending how healthy he is. He is bouncing back from an ACL where he didn't have an at bat last year, so might take him a little time. We'll see. So I wrote down some things here when I was talking about the Brewers. Their rotation, as of right now, Burns, Peralta, Miley is the top three. Did
Yep.
they lose a little depth here?
Yep.
Absolutely, they did.
Yep.
Absolutely. A lot of their success, I think, is going to hinge on young guys, right? Jackson Churio, I mean, how big a role is he going to play? He got the $82 million contract already. Yes.
No, Yelly was just talking about this guy and talking about how many people that have seen him play think he's like the guy, like
Okay.
the guy.
But it's more than him, right? Frelick, Garrett Mitchell, we don't know
Yep.
what role he's going to play. Weimer, Contreras was the team MVP a season ago, and he's in his mid-20s. Bullpen, where they have been so good in recent years, right? They did have Josh Hader for a while, and we'll let Devin Williams set up with the nasty fastball changeup, and then Williams moves into the closer's role, and now we're wondering, is he the next guy that's going to be on the move? You know, Abner Uribe is a guy whose name I knew. I'd seen some highlights, but didn't really do a little bit of a deep dive on him until this question. And the dude seems just filthy. Seems
Yes.
filthy. And 27 of his 32 major league appearances last year after he got called up, he didn't give up a run. Opponents hit a $154 against him. His ERA was under 1.8. He's thrown the 11 hardest pitches in the history of the Brewers, tracked by StatCast, which started 15-ish years ago. So even if they need to move on from him, they've got this kid right there. So do I make them the favorite? I want to wait until the Cubs. If they add Bellinger, I'll get on that train, just like you were talking about earlier, and I would make them the favorite.
Okay.
But the rest of it, man, I think it's a fun division to watch, even if it's not a great division.
It is going to be a fun division to watch, and I don't think those teams are like separated by a lot. Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers, even the Reds. I mean, the Reds can have if they had some young guys step up. That's basically when I talked to Yelly just about how he felt about the team. He goes, we're going to rely on a lot of the young guys to take a step.
Yep.
And to kind of be what they're supposed to be. But he did make it a point to talk about Chorians to say this guy is supposed to be can't miss baseball.
Great. I love it. All right. There were a bunch of reported signings in recent days. Aroldis Chapman to the Pirates, James Paxton to the Dodgers, Matt Moore to the Halos. Apparently, if you're left-handed and you can throw, you have signed in the last couple of days. Let's do this one rather quickly. Out of those, which one piqued your interest the most?
Well, Miguel Sano to the Angels, you missed. That one obviously piqued my interest more than anything. Kind of love it. I'll say Paxton to the Dodgers. We've been talking about, they've made crazy amounts of signings this offseason, spent over $1 billion this offseason, but they still kind of lacked a little bit of that starting pitching depth. They have some young guys who they're also going to be relying on. And we talked about, they've proven they can bring young guys up and have them be successful big leaguers. So I don't really worry about it there, but they did need some depth at the back of the rotation. Paxton offers that. The thing that makes it interesting to me is they're so far over that competitive balance tax, like this $11 million deal or whatever it is it's double that. It's 110% on top of that. So they're paying $24 million for 1 year James Paxton, which is, that's not really what he should be getting now, but that's what they have to pay. So every time they sign someone right now, they're paying double. And it's just, I don't know how you keep that up. That's nuts to me.
Well,
and I'm all about signing players and having owners spend money. But when you're getting taxed like that, my goodness. Yeah. So that was kind of why I was like, geez, man.
You're like, I love that shirt. I love that shirt. What is it? Is that $45? It's 110. Shit, don't look that good. I got to be honest with you. I've taken a little grief, and some of it I think deserved from Angels fans. I think I was so frustrated with the inability for them to get to the playoffs in the Shohei Ohtani era paired with Mike Trout that I let a lot of stuff get to me. The Blake Snell stuff where I said, I can't see him there. I want to see him on another team. And even though I do believe that, I was a little vicious toward the organization. I like what you guys have done with the bullpen in the offseason. I really do. In the offseason now, in the addition of Moore, who is now back for his second time there, Simber, who's interesting. He's coming off of an injury. Luis Castillo, Zach Plesac, Robert Stevenson is the big one, right?
Yep.
The one for more than $30 million. Then Jolly Olive broke the news on it. You also have Jose Soriano and Ben Joyce, who made their debuts last year. Soriano was really interesting coming out of the pen. Joyce, I hope he can hold it together injury-wise. I like that. Like, okay, we're fortifying our bullpen. Good. Now just spend a little bit elsewhere. I don't think they have spent anything on their rotation or on their everyday ball players in terms of free agency. But it said which one piqued your interest the most.
There you go.
That one did. There.
The Angels piqued my interest. I am intrigued by the Angels, and it's not just because I feel like we're supposed to say that to give the Angels fans a little bit of love. Like, I really am. I think there's some really good young ball players in that lineup.
There are.
And every team has to go through a phase like this where, yeah, those guys have to be something. I agree with you. Maybe let's continue to go as far as adding to your roster.
Right.
But, it wouldn't surprise me if we're talking about, the 500 Angels going around the trade deadline and kind of which way are we going to go with this team? Are we going to add, or are we just going to kind of stand pat? Like, I think there's a pretty good chance they could end up right around there and having to make that decision.
All right, finally, the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce, they had their annual Fire Up the City event. I don't think that's what it was called, but that's what I'm going to call it, where they go over, like, what's big coming our way in 2024. Well, John Fisher and the A's were in attendance. And so Fisher, who never meets the media, was out talking about this whole thing. It's expected to be their new home by 2028. They're having a few stadium issues, the whole bit. But I want you to listen to the MC for the city's enthusiasm over the Las Vegas A's.
Let's give it up one more time for Mary Beth and John Fisher, please. The Las Vegas A's. We like the sound of that, right, Vegas? Yeah? Yes? Are we alive back there, Las Vegas? How we feeling?
Are we alive back
That's
there?
tough.
How worried are you about this thing?
I mean, the deal's going to happen. They're going to be in Vegas. How worried am I about how popular they're going to be and what they're going to draw in Vegas? I mean, I'm actually decently worried about that. I don't think they should go in and beat the Las Vegas A's. Just the same way I don't think the Raiders should have kept their name. I know the Raiders and the A's, very storied franchises, have a massive history. But guess what? You sold out on that, bro. You're in Las Vegas now. You need the hoopla. You need the extravagance. I'm more so on the A's and the Raiders on that take, but I do believe if they went in and changed the name and just came up with a new team, that Vegas residents would say, this is our team. They don't feel, it doesn't feel, the LA Chargers doesn't feel like an LA team. It doesn't. And I know teams move places and the A's have moved before, but I think that would have helped out. And I wonder if the A's are thinking about that at all before they move over. Because I would give it a thought if I was them. I would change the name and do all that. I think that's a better plan than going there and beating the Las Vegas A's. I do.
Well, two things. In the football world, I believe the Chargers might have started in Los
there?
Angeles. I think
No,
they started there in the early 60s, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that Al Davis was a coach on their team.
You know what?
In the,
now that you
in the
say
old
that,
AFL.
I've read that before.
But listen, this is people, and I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure, but not 100% sure.
Okay.
Maybe Dan can look that up.
Dan?
The Raiders, I would never change the name.
I know.
I'm sorry.
The Raiders
That's
is
an
tough.
iconic brand.
It is.
Don't change that. Now let's get on to the other situation. I don't feel for the fans of Las Vegas, or certainly not John Fisher. Dan, how about listening to he goes, what was the question again? If the Chargers started in L.A. in like 1961 or 1960, I think they started in L.A. before they moved to San Diego. Maybe listen to the show while we're doing this. Okay, Rourke? Jeez. Stop with the puff pass. Let's go. Clean it up.
No.
I'm kidding. Piqued your interest on that. I'm worried about the Oakland fans. So my team, the Cleveland Guardians, start the season up in Oakland, and I was thinking about maybe just going up there. And somebody told me that the Oakland fans are organizing kind of not a boycott. They're going to buy up all the tickets and not let people in the stadium up there in Oakland. This could be a total shit show. So I just hope that, I know the Oakland fans are hurting. I support you immensely. I have had a team ripped from my grasp in the Cleveland Browns. It sucked. You all have now had it with your football team. The basketball team didn't leave the area, but they moved to San Francisco, and now the baseball team's leaving. And I get it. I feel your pain. I am with you. So that's who I care about. As far as whether or not this thing is going to work, I'm worried. I know that John Fisher has said we can come up with our $1.1 billion. We're going to be okay. If we have to sell shares of the A's, we'll do it. Because, like, the city's paying close to $400 million, and they got to come up with the rest of it to privately finance it? I don't know. And I also, how the hell are they going to build a baseball stadium on 9 acres of land?
There's a lot of things that are up in the air, but I do believe that they end up in Vegas. Where else would they go? Well, they can't go back to Oakland.
No, but you know what? After this year, I think they're out of Oakland. I don't know if they're going to be in Sacramento. I don't know if they're going to be in Salt Lake. All that stuff's going to be fascinating to watch. And you got to remember that the MLBPA has got to approve all that stuff because some of those stadiums that are minor league stadiums need to be refurbished if you're going to have major league teams in there.
Oh, yes. So I want our fans to do this. Come up with a new name for the Las Vegas baseball team. How about that?
Ooh.
In the comment section, please.
Please do.
I'm going to think. And on Monday's show, I'll give my answer.
Okay. You know what? Why don't we give away maybe we could give away a T-shirt, a Baseball Today T-shirt to whomever we pick. Yeah, that's a good one. By the way, Dan Rourke did finally listen to the question. 1961, the Chargers were in L.A.
I should just stop talking about football. Like I don't know enough about football.
No, it's okay. But
I got one friend that's a quarterback now. I think I'm a football star.
Come on, you're a football dude. Before we get out of here, I want you to play the guessing game. I did a Rose rotation earlier today with somebody that I'm very excited about because he rarely does interviews. And so it's coming out on Monday's show.
Okay.
I cannot wait. He is a former player.
Okay. Yes.
Near and dear to my heart.
Okay. Cleveland guy.
As I mentioned, doesn't do a lot of interviews. Was an outstanding ball player.
Do I get a position?
He's one of the best hitters that we have seen in the last 40 years. You have a guess?
Jim Thome?
Nope. Jim Thome will talk to anybody. You know that.
Yeah, he does. He likes to give interviews. Oh, man. Albert Bell.
Bingo. Albert Bell will be on the show.
That's huge for you.
Yeah, and I got to tell you something. So I think I told you this recently. I kind of became texting buddies with him over
You
something.
did tell me that. Yep.
So I decided, what the hell? I'm going to ask him. I said, Albert, I've got a podcast. I'd love for you to come on. I really would. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then as we got closer to it, I got nervous. Because I was like, oh, my God. Because I really don't know him very well. I've met him once or twice, and he was very kind to me. But still, I mean, when you don't know where you can go because he covered everything. I am telling you, we talked about the cork bat. We talked about him getting ripped off from the MVP in 95. We talked about the perception of him. We talked about if he has any regrets. We talked about the Fernando Vina incident where he ran over him. We talked about if he really could have come back to Cleveland when he was a free agent and became the highest paid player in the sport. We talked about his return to Cleveland where he flipped everybody. We talked about everything. He went everywhere. I can't wait for people to listen to it.
I'm excited for that one. I'm very curious to hear his talking about the little forearm shiver right there.
Oh, it is a great story.
I can't wait.
It's really good. So I hope everybody learns a little bit about him. It was good for me because the Guardians, the first 23 years of my life, did not finish higher than third in their division. Third. They couldn't even trip themselves into a third place finish. They stunk. And then he was the centerpiece of a team that changed a city.
Yes.
So it was very exciting for me. He is not a perfect person. He knows that. He says it. He says he's had his issues. But we had a good time, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
When does that come out?
Monday. All right, listen, go have a great time at Twins Fest. Say hello to all the amazing people in Minneapolis. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. So, and my friends up there.
Thank you.
I have a special place in my heart for some of the members of the Twins organization, even if they are tribal. Okay?
Love that.
Travel safely up there and
I
have
appreciate
fun.
that,
And
yeah.
bring a winter coat and don't lose your tan.
I'm bringing Teddy too.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
I love it. See, what grade is he in? Third?
third.
Yeah.
I'm yanking him out of school. This is the best kind of school you can
Absolutely.
get.
This
School
is
of
it.
Hard Knocks with Dad. Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah, real hard knocks up there. Good try.
My life
For
is
our
something.
one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, and I do mean one-of-a-kind. Thanks for answering the question, dude. I was
All right,
just
for the record, there was no puff pass going on or nothing. I was confused because you said, when did like the stadium
Slander.
move? And you said 1961. So I was like, wait, didn't they just move a few years ago? I was confused. I, of course, listened to the show. So I would
That
never
way,
not
Dan.
pay attention. I promise.
You're a good man. I was just, you know what? We kid the ones
I
we
know,
love.
I know.
You know that, Rourke. I love you. So for that dude, and for the one-of-a-kind Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Monday, I think, on Baseball Today.